Urban Explorer of Reddit, what was your I bet a gtfo story? I was exploring an old stormwater filtration plant once. The lower levels of the main buildings were all flooded, which was super creepy, and it was pretty overgrown. This was my second time there, and I wanted to see more than I had last time. A friend of mine and I had the bright idea to climb into one of the pipes that had an open manhole cover, really stupid for a whole bunch of reasons. We figured we had a pretty good guess where it would come out, as there was another manhole on the other side of the compound in line with where the pipe was heading. When we got all the way there though, it turned out to be welded shut. The worst bit was, when we turned to go back, we realized we'd been slowly going downhill. The pipe was fairly slimy, and it seemed for a minute like we wouldn't be able to go back the way we'd come. I've never quite felt that level of claustrophobia before or since. I was exploring an abandoned mine shaft for the second day in a row. This was in a small old Midwestern town that used to be booming from the mining industry, but has long been abandoned. It was also a 10-minute walk from the nearest road. This time I went with different friends and better flashlights. The door I had gone through the first day was now padlocked shut. That should been the first red flag, but we found an entrance from the rooftop into one of the main buildings and continued to explore anyway. After exploring about 3 floors of mine shaft below ground, we were back on the main floor exploring the workshop/garage, and I was looking through the cracks of light coming through the rusted metal walls when I noticed a bright color that stood out from the rest of the area. It was a man looking back at me through the cracks. I was seeing his blue sweater. I could see 2 sets of eyes looking into the room that we were in. After whispering to my friends that there were people watching us through the wall, we fucking booked it out of there and jumped off the roof and into the woods. The men were in a pickup truck and drove around looking for us, even getting out of the truck to look around. We couldn't see them from where we took cover, but we could hear the truck stop, the doors open, and footsteps breaking leaves and twigs only 20 feet away from us. We hid there for about 15 minutes while the men searched all around for us. It is harder than most people think to try and quiet your breathing after sprinting. It was terrifying. I'm not going back there. Oh, I've had my share of things that made me nope out. Here's just a few. 1. Found a gas leak in an abandoned house that had been building up for years a couple weeks ago. I gtfo, but not before finishing taking the photos I wanted with extreme caution. That one I reported to the cops, as it's classified as the kind of hazard in the urbex community that supersedes discretion. 2. Ran into the security guard doing an unexpected interior patrol. He definitely knew we were there, so we had to book it for the tree line before he could get the cops out there to search. 3. Some homeless dude chucking cans and bottles out the 5th story window of an old factory my friend and I were poking around to scare us off. We took a hint and left. 4. Tripped a motion detecting camera in the basement of an abandoned building and had to bail. I know for a fact they got a full face photo of me staring directly into the camera with shock, but I never heard anything more about it. Little bit late here, but I once went exploring with my brother on an old, abandoned naval base at midnight. We snuck into the officers' quarters and were just exploring when we heard a weird noise. We are both into photography, so I decided to take a flash photo and see if I caught anything weird in the light. The camera went off, and we both saw a massive, 6 feet long bee's nest on the side of one of the walls. I think our presence has just disturbed them, because hundreds of them were already crawling in the outside of the nest. It was the single most scariest thing I've ever seen, and it was gone in a second because of the camera flash. We noped the fuck out of there right as a cop was pulling up to see what we were up to, lol. Came upon an active shooting gallery in a tunnel one time. I noped TF out of there in a hurry. I was taking a look at some of those massive smokestacks in an abandoned factory, and I heard a radio squelch. That's time to go, right there. I was 16 or 17, so like 2006-ish, out in a park out in a western suburb of Chicago with some friends. It's a medium-sized forest preserve with a big industrial lot leading to the parking lot, then a prairie area, then a big old forest with paths. We are walking around the forest for a few hours in the early afternoon and see some random pentagrams around and stuff. Honestly nothing super out of the ordinary, but they seem concentrated by this field that's probably like 2,000 square feet of 4 feet tall grass. For whatever reason I thought it would be fun to walk into the middle of the grass field. Right in the dead center, there is like a 8 feet long, 3 feet wide rectangle of freshly dug ground. Like perfect for a body. Because of how tall the grass was, it was almost totally covered, but when I moved the grass back it was like a burial mound. I told my friend we had to leave, and so we beelined back to the parking lot. My friend didn't smoke in his car, so we had a cig next to the car. Cop pulls up, and we are underage, so we flick our cigarettes and start to get in the car. Cop turns on his lights and stops us. Once he sees we're kids, he says something like, "Better get out of here, it's not a good place to be after dark." Sort of urban exploring I guess. When I was at Chicago they were renovating some of the Green Line stations and a friend and I would jump the turnstiles at the station across from our building at night to get high and watch the trains. Day 2 of the station being closed, and one of the conductors saw us and actually stopped, so we got on with only one other person in the car, thinking it'd be fun to just ride it until it came back. It's pretty late, and after a few minutes we realize the homeless looking guy sitting at the other end of the car isn't actually masturbating, he's cleaning a gun. Got off only to realize it was an Ashland/63rd bound train, and had no idea where TF we were. To this day neither of us remember how we made it home. Only now writing this do I realize we had no way of getting back, since they wouldn't have stopped at our station again. I was exploring the abandoned hospital at night when I see a light shining down the corridor just on my left. When I saw that I started to run back when I hear the loudest most distorted laughter ever. Then I heard a man screaming, then the sound of something breaking. I learned a few days later that it was my friend who knew I was going to be there alone and he wanted to scare me. The screaming man was actually coming from the IT video on the SCP Bone Breaker. In a building I found the basement. Then the sub-basement. It was dark. Heard a sound. Then an animal running sound. And dogs barking. I fucking booked it back up the stairs and closed the fire door and gtfo. Speaking to some Urbex mentors they explained, if you hear dogs or see them, to not go in the area as it's probably used for a drug lab. Spooky cement tunnel that seems to lead underground. Very dark and echoes go on for ages. We had no clue what it was, didn't seem to be any kind of drainage tunnel, because it was square/bone dry, and out in an open field. There are definitely some old bomb shelters and missile silos on our area that are out of commission, so we decided to take a look. Only about 20 yards in, and the light from outside starts really fading behind us. Someone takes out a flashlight, and we start seeing bare human footprints on the ground leading deeper into the dark. None leaving. We skedaddled. I spent a lot of years super into urban exploration hoping something would make me nope out. It happened a lot, and it was always the same thing. The cops. Was exploring an abandoned TB hospital. Heard a sound that sounded a lot like a homeless person snoring. It took a while for my friends and I to work up the courage to go in the room where we heard it, but we were awarded with the sight of a vulture's nest. No really scary ones other than random bums yelling and stuff. But there were a couple of good encounters. 1. Messing around in the outskirts of a train yard taking pics of old train cars and stuff. Ran into I guess a mechanic or maintenance worker or something who ended up being super cool and started up and pulled a locomotive out of the shed for us. 2. In an old, abandoned mining site somewhere I came around the side of a big machine thing and ran into a homeless dude living in a tent. He also turned out to be cool. We gave him some of our food and sat around for a while talking. I was exploring when I noticed some dude trailing me. I was saved by a bus driver who noticed me and opened the door as he passed by me. I was camping in BC with my GF at the time and her dog. Had a couple of rough looking people who were the only other people in the area we were camping, but it was late, so we set up and thought nothing of it. Guy wanders over while we're in our tent. Can hear him outside, and dog is barking at this point. I get out and ask what he's doing, and he says he just wanted to pet the dog. This is at like midnight. Told him we were settling in etc. Guy wanders off without replying at all to what I'd said. Woke up the next morning to what looked to me like a single 9mm bullet sitting upright on our site's picnic table, and a happy face made with sticks and rocks on the bench part of the table below it. Maybe it was just a shitty joke, but we sure as fuck didn't stay around to find out. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to consider the idea to maybe think about potentially subscribing. Peace.